Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to the Hot Girl Guide podcast with Rebecca Shortt. How are we? Happy Monday. I am so excited to be here. I'm so excited to get into this episode today. Listen, I said I was gonna bring the podcast back, and the podcast is back. And I'm so proud of myself for that. But I also said I would do it twice a week on Mondays and Thursdays. But then I had a little moment of realization and a moment of being like, Rebecca, walk before you can run. I have not been consistent with this podcast on previous occasions. So instead of throwing myself into it and taking on way too much and trying to do 2 episodes a week for the sake of it, do one first and then if you want to do a little surprise episode once every now and then, or if you feel like doing a bonus episode, you can, but don't have a part of a schedule that your podcast is every Monday and Thursday. Let's just start with Mondays. That was my revelation. So we're only on Mondays, but if you follow the podcast, there's a button on Spotify. I always mix up Shopify and Spotify. There's a button on Spotify that you can follow the podcast on. There's a button on Apple that you can follow the podcast on. There is a button on YouTube that you can subscribe to the podcast on, or wherever else you're listening. There should be a follow button. There should also be a 5-star button. And I'm a 5-star kind of girly. My Venus is in Taurus. Anyway, okay, we're going to get into it because I'm going to lose people. Some people don't like personality in their podcast. They just want to know the information. And I'm sorry, but I'm giving personality. I'm always going to give personality. I did not have acne since age 11 to not use my personality. That is the only reason I have a personality. I grew up with acne and glasses and frizzy hair and braces. So I had to do my little butterfly moment. And that is fine, but it really made me work on my personality. That has got nothing to do with today's podcast. Actually, it kind of does. I'm sure I'll make the two connect. But I'm so excited to be here. Thank you to everyone for following and listening to the podcast. I'm getting so many new listeners and so many new streams and so many new listens. And I'm just excited to see where we can take this as a whole, as a community. The Hot Girl Guide used to be tied to my brand, the Hot Girl Guide, but you know me, I love a rebrand, and I changed my entire website last week. Of course, I bought the domain on the new moon and I did the whole chart of the relaunch, but basically my website is now RebeccaShortt.com. So if you're looking for anything with regards to me, whether that's me talking about confidence, my confidence ebook, my manifesting ebook, astrology stuff, skincare recommendations, hair care recommendations, all my beauty stuff, my YouTube channel, this podcast, it all has its own little section on RebeccaShortt.com, which I'm so happy about because it makes so much more sense, because I would prefer to have a personal brand than a brand. Now I am keeping the podcast at the Hot Girl Guide with Rebecca Shortt because I feel like the Hot Girl Guide podcast kind of makes sense, and I don't want to change my podcast to like the Rebecca Shortt podcast. Like that doesn't really, I don't know, that doesn't really feel good to me. If anyone has any, see, I don't want to rename the podcast. Like I don't want to rename it something else. But then again, I don't want to rename it like the Rebecca Shortt podcast. So if anyone has any suggestions that doesn't involve bringing in a new third party name, so we're either keeping the Hot Girl Guide with Rebecca Shortt, or we're implementing my name into a podcast name that kind of makes more sense. So I would love your creative juices. Slide into my DMs. Today I did something fun for today's episode. So I did a poll on my Instagram stories. So there were 4 options for today's episode. It was either going to be a whole podcast on confidence called Confidence 2.0, because I've done an episode previously on confidence on this podcast. If you scroll back probably to 2021, I think it was, is when I did that episode. I also wrote an entire ebook and audiobook on confidence called Be Your Own Biggest Fan. It used to be called The Hot Girl Guide to Confidence, but along with my website rebrand, I gave the name of the book a rebrand. So it's the same book. Anyone who had already purchased it got an email to download the new one. It's still the same book. I just changed like the font and the cover and stuff like that. I was like, why would I do a whole podcast on confidence when I have a whole confidence book that's €11.11, and I already have a confidence podcast. So if you want my thoughts on confidence, go listen to that episode, go buy the ebook, support me. Keep these lights on, We all know there's an electricity crisis, so keep my lights on, buy the ebook. It's €11.11, take it as a sign. Anyways, that was option 1. Option 2 was don't be afraid to be seen to be trying. And if you're listening to this and you see the title, that is what we're talking about today. I'm so excited to get into it. And that actually has the most votes as well. Confidence was winning for a while, but then everyone was like, no, I want to know what Rebecca's thoughts on that are. Then the next topic that we will be doing, we will be covering all these topics anyway, so definitely follow and stay tuned. The next one is reasons to break up with someone. If the girlies who voted reasons to break up with someone are in relationships, that's your reason. That's all I'm going to say. If you're looking for a reason to break up with someone, that's your reason. But I will be doing a whole episode on it because I have a lot to say. And then the last one, which I thought was going to be the winner, is the importance of celebrating yourself. Now, my birthday month is starting on Saturday because, yes, I have a birthday month. It is April. I'm excited. I'm a Taurus. I'm turning 29. My last year of my 20s. I'm so excited. I actually am. I don't care about aging. That should be another episode. I'm going to write that down. Anyways, I might keep that episode for my birthday week. The importance of celebrating yourself, because I'm a firm believer in celebrating your birthday. Anyway, we're going to get into today's episode. Oh my God, no, we're not. We're doing the perfume of the pod. Today's perfume of the pod is a highly known perfume. It's a highly talked about perfume. You've probably heard of this perfume in some capacity. It is also a perfume of mine that is totally empty, gone, but you can still smell the scent of the bottle. And that is the one, the only Baccarat Rouge by Maison Francis Curdejean, Paris. Did I butcher that name? Potentially. I should have Googled how to say it before, but I didn't. But it's Baccarat Rouge 540. This is an expensive perfume. This is a delicious perfume. This is one of the perfumes that wherever I went when I was wearing this, someone would be like, oh my God, what perfume are you wearing? Now, granted, I tend to choose perfumes that have that effect, but this perfume is very controversial. Some people love it, some people hate it, some people say it's overpriced, some people say it's not worth the hype. I do personally think it's worth the hype. Would I repurchase it? Yes and no. My reason for saying yes is because it's a beautiful perfume. I loved it. It was one of my favorites. My reason for saying no is because when I got this perfume, I got it for my birthday last year, and samples of other perfumes by the same brand came with it. And there was a perfume called, I think it was Satin Oud or Satin Oud Mood. Oh my God. So if I'm buying anything from this brand again, I would rather get a perfume that I've smelled but I haven't owned, because I've owned this now. So I would buy this again. I would use this again. If I had unlimited cash monies, it would be a constant perfume in my collection. But I'm not going to buy it again because I like to try new perfumes. It's expensive, but it's not as expensive as other perfumes. It's not outrageously expensive. For the 70 milliliter bottle, it's €235. Now, I will argue that you only need a spray or two of this and it will have an effect. I don't do that. I am a spritzer. I do probably 3, 4, 5 sprays. I spray everywhere. I would probably get the 70 ml if you're going to get it. As with everything, I would recommend you smell it before you buy. I had smelled this in Dubai. They have it in Sephora in Dubai. They don't have it in every Sephora, but I got this off the website, so the brand's own website. I got this off. So it's amber and woody and kind of floral, but not really floral. It's a whisper of floral. It's along my brand of perfumes and I really like it. And if you were thinking of getting it and you're on the fence, I do recommend it, but I do recommend you spray it on yourself first because perfume smells differently on everyone. So find a friend who has it, find out somewhere near you that has it. If nowhere near you has it, I wouldn't get it, because I would not spend €235 on a perfume that I had never smelled before. But that's just me. The packaging is beautiful, it's weighty, it's heavy, it feels expensive. And now we're getting into the podcast. Don't be afraid to be seen to be trying. Now, this concept is something that I am, number one, very familiar with. But number two, I saw a girl on TikTok say something along the lines similar of this. And it just really resonated with me, because I was like, I'm definitely the type of person who will try anything. I will try my hand at anything. I would rather try and know it doesn't work, or know I don't like it, than never try at all. If I have an idea, I will try it. It mightn't work, it might work. I'll put some energy and effort into it, but I won't think about not doing it for fear of it not being good enough, or it failing, or people judging me for trying. And I think the third one, people judging you for trying, is like the biggest reason people don't try at all. And I guess when it comes to me personally, the way I can talk about this the most is in relation to all the things I do on social media. If you don't do anything on social media, this whole concept can still apply to you. It just might apply slightly differently, but I'm going to talk about it from my experience in relation to social media. But the lessons are still the same. We're still learning lessons. I'm just going to tell you my stories. When I think about this whole concept of like, don't be afraid to be seen to be trying. You don't go from 0 to 100 in anything in life. If you want to do something, if you want to be something, if you want to create something, if you want to bring something into fruition, you have to go from 0 to 1 to 2, maybe skip to 10 to 100. You can't go from 0 to 100. You can't start something new, or try to create something, or try to be something, or try to do something without the whole process of learning and doing. And that's scary. That is terrifying, especially if it's something in relation to putting yourself out there. Because when it comes to me, I've tried so many things. I've tried doing beauty blogging. I've tried doing YouTube. I still do YouTube. I've tried making a podcast. I've tried creating a TikTok. I've tried me and my friend tried doing an influencer marketing agency. What else did I try? I tried creating my whole new brand. I tried creating hoodies. I have tried so many different things when it comes to my life in relation to who I want to be and what I want to do, which I think is amazing. But I'm definitely the type of person who will try something, and if it's not working, or I don't like it, or it doesn't really feel good, or it's not exciting me the way I thought it would, I will drop it in the blink of a hat. I won't push something that I know isn't working or that I don't really like. And I think the issue is, right, people think about what they want to do way more than they try to actually do it. So say, for example, you want to start your own mug company, right? You want to start your own mug company. You love mugs. You want to start selling mugs online, and you want it to be perfect. You want your mug company to be the best mugs. You want them to feel really nice in your hand. You want the colors to be perfect. You want the names to be perfect. You want the website to be perfect, the social media approach to be perfect, and you want everything to be absolutely perfect. But you don't want to start until you've everything figured out, because in your mind, you're like, if I start this mug company and people buy my mugs and they're not really great, or I start talking about these mugs on social media and I don't really know what I'm doing yet, and I have to figure out the whole social media of it all, and I don't really have the resources or the funds to hire someone to do the social media professionally, and then I have to do the website, and I have to think of the concepts, and I have to think of the ideas, and there's all these things going on in your head. All these different ideas and all these hypothetical scenarios of, what if I do it and I fail? What if I do it and I don't like it? What if I do it and the people who I know think I'm silly for making mugs? What if I do it and I post really bad social media pictures or really bad quality videos? Or what if I do it and I only get 10 sales in my first month? And all of these ideas are going around in your head. And instead of actually doing it and starting to do it and figuring it out as you go, you're thinking about it, and you're thinking about it for years and years and years and years, or months and months, or weeks and weeks, however long. You're thinking about it for way too long. So when you do start it then and say it doesn't work, or say you don't like it, or say something else comes up, or say you don't really have the love of it that you thought you would, then you're screwed, because you're like, well, I spent 5 years wanting to do this thing and trying to make the idea perfect. And then when I started doing it, I figured out it doesn't really work, or I don't really like it, or whatever. And now you stay with it because you're like, but I've been doing this for the last 5 years, or I've been wanting to do this for the last 5 years, or I've been doing all these courses and trainings and everything, and now I don't like it. And then you're stuck because you were afraid to be seen to try. You were afraid to start before you were ready. And my main thing in this whole podcast today, my main takeaway point, and I know we're doing the takeaway point before the episode is even finished, you're never ready. You're never going to be perfect. You're never going to be amazing. If you don't start something and you don't put the energy in, does anyone remember the 10,000 hours concept? You have to do something for 10,000 hours before you're considered to be an expert, before you're considered to know anything, to be good at it. Of course, you can be good before the 10,000 hours, but normally any skill in life you're building, you have to spend time and you have to invest the time in it to actually be good at it and to actually be an expert and for it to actually be a success. Of course, there are overnight success stories, but when you look a little deeper into any overnight success story, especially when it comes to something on the internet, some creative person, a brand, a singer, a YouTuber, a TikToker, a podcaster, an influencer, no matter what it is, 99.9% of the time, no one blows up overnight. It is years of putting in work in different things, and then the person happened to do one thing that worked and one thing that took off and one thing that really aligned, and then it all worked out. But the reason it all worked out is because that person was not afraid to be seen to be trying. That person was not afraid to be seen to be trying. That person cared way more about doing the thing they actually wanted to do and trying it and honouring themselves than they did other people's opinions and what other people would think and other people looking at them trying and being like, that's so cringe or that's so embarrassing. They're not any good at that. They don't know what they're doing. The person who succeeds cares more about them and what they're doing. They do not care, or they've shoved it down, or they've put their blinders on. And that's my advice to you, is if you want to do something, don't be afraid to be seen to be trying. Because if you don't try, you're never going to know. And I don't know about you, but I imagine my future self would regret not trying a lot more than trying it not working out and learning something. Because you're never actually a failure. That's another big concept I have. If you fail at something, if something doesn't work, you have to learn. When you fail at something, it means something didn't work, you didn't do it right, you didn't go about it the right way, whatever it is, but you learn a lesson. And then you can take that lesson into the next thing you do and then grow and grow and grow and grow. Or you can take that lesson into your next relationship, or you can take that lesson into your friendships or your family, or you can take that lesson on yourself and be like, why did that happen? There is always a learning point in everything. And I have a Virgo moon. I intellectualize everything. I have a Virgo moon and a Sagittarius rising. Everything has a reason and everything has a silver lining, because that is my personality. And I know it's annoying sometimes to be like, you're not a failure. You learned a lesson. Look for the lessons in life. I promise you, the less you fear failure, the quicker you will fail. The quicker you will fail, the quicker you succeed. If I want to try something now, I try it. If it doesn't work, that's fine. I just move on to the next thing. And if people are so concerned about what I tried that didn't work 6 months ago or a year ago or 5 years ago, that's on them, because I'm moving forward. I'm not thinking about what I tried 3 years ago that didn't work and what everyone thinks about that, or the fact that I can't do this new thing because I failed at the last thing. Fail and fail fast. Keep moving forward. Keep going. Don't look to the left or the right for opinions. Don't be afraid to be seen to be trying. Just try it. The worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to realize you don't like it, which you would have never known if you didn't try, and you're going to spend your whole life wondering, what if you tried that thing? Whereas if you just try it and realize you don't like it, then you can move on. Or you're going to try it and it doesn't work. That's not going to be great for the old self-esteem. You're going to be like, why doesn't it work? You're going to figure out the lessons. You're either going to try again, because most people don't get something the first time. It takes a few tries. It takes tweaks. It takes learning. That's the whole exciting thing about anything that you want to create in this life. If you just decided tomorrow morning, I want to be a YouTuber, so I'm going to make a YouTube channel, make a YouTube video. Your first video gets 10 million views and you get 1 million subscribers. There's no joy in that. Of course there's joy in it, but there's no sense of achievement. If you just want to do something and you do it and it works out perfectly the first time you ever do it, number one, that's very lucky. But number two, there's no journey in that. And the journey is where you learn the things. The journey is where you curate your personality. The journey is where you curate who you are. The journey is where you learn things in life that change your perspective. And if you're not changing your perspective on things and you have thought the same way about everything since you were born, you're not much of an interesting person to hang out with. I just want everyone who is listening to this episode today to pick one thing, whatever has been in the top of your head since I've been talking this whole time. Pick it. I don't care what it is. Pick the thing that you want to try and just throw yourself into it. And if you throw yourself into it and you don't like it, move on to the next thing. And if you throw yourself into it and you fail, figure out what you learned and try again. And if you throw yourself into it and you succeed, you're welcome. Where's my 10%? Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed. Goodbye.